Welcome into the official. I'm your host, Alfred, here for CampusDecanton.com. And you know what? We've got Walker White here. Again, he's been kind enough to show up for another show, for another interview, check in how his season's going. And we have a really big thing to talk about. And so we will certainly ask him about a big announcement that was made recently in his recruitment. And so, we're just having a great time here on the official. And thanks for sticking with us. This is the official. Got David. Unfortunately, Matt can't make it tonight, but we basically have an honorary member of the official now. Walker White. It's like his fourth time on.
Yes, sir.
We've really enjoyed going through the season with you and kind of getting updates and all that. So we will get to you in 1 second. But before we get started, like and subscribe to this show if you like what we're doing here on the official here on YouTube. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the new episodes. And also check out the parent website, CampusDecanton.com, where we are bringing you, groundbreaking stuff in the recruiting world. We have a brand new section of the website that is only about recruiting. We unveiled that earlier in the week. And we'll show you a little bit about those tools and some of the new updates later in the show. So stick for that. And also plenty of membership options at any price point. So go ahead and go to CampusDecanton.com. Now, Walker White, you want to tell us what just happened? Like, what was it, Monday, Sunday? I don't know. It was very recent. We saw some tweets. I texted you about it and said, you got to come on.
The day before my game, okay? So it was Thursday. It was Thursday night when I called. It was Wednesday when a quarterback assistant coach from Alabama told me, hey, call this number tomorrow. Coach Saban wants to talk to you. I was like, all right, cool. So Thursday night rolls around, and I get this text from this random number that says, hey, my name is blank. I'm going to be coordinating this call with you and Coach Saban. Call this number at about 6:30. He said, and she was like, I'll just let you know when the best time is to call. And I was like, all right. So 6:30 rolls around. I was like, hey, am I good to call? She's like, give me a couple minutes. She's like, all right, call it now. And so I call. She picks up the phone, and she's like, hi, my name, I can't remember his name, Karajan or something like that. But she was like, hey, I'm just going to transfer you to Coach Saban. And I was like, all right. Because so at this point, it kind of felt like I was calling the president. Like, I got a text before the day I had to call him. He's like, hey, call this number. 30 minutes before I call him, I receive a certain phone number to call so I can then be transferred to Coach Saban. So it was wild. But she transfers me to Coach Saban, and he picks up the phone. He's like, Walker. And I'm like, what's up, Coach? And, he just, how, like, his voice is just really calm, controlled, really, 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 like, cool sounding. Obviously, he's like, I don't know, he's just like, it seems like when he talks like with authority, but like, it's not like high energy. It's just like controlled. Like he knows what he's talking about all the time. So we just started talking. He knew kind of how my season was going. He said, so you're 6-2? I was like, yes, sir. He's like, and you have 2 more games left until playoffs. I was like, yes, sir. And what that conversation, how it kind of went is during the summer, I was at a camp to Alabama, and I feel like while I was there, I was the best quarterback. I feel like I threw the best. I feel like I had the best footwork, most accurate. And so during this workout I had at Alabama, Coach O'Brien, the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, said, hey, what's your name? Because on the back of our helmet, we had our last name. He said, what's your name, White? And I said, Walker. He's like, Walker White. All right, cool. But I was invited there by the assistant quarterback coach. And so, I was in like this separate group that Coach Saban, Coach O'Brien, and Coach Mortensen, the assistant quarterback coach, were all watching. And so Coach Saban was watching. And at this point, I felt like really pressured. Like there was a lot of pressure on me. But it was like it wasn't nervous. It was like an excitement. And so what I learned from myself that day is how I handle pressure, and I know I handle it well. Like I know how well I handle pressure. But regardless, like that day, I was just on it. They were all like really like complimentary of me, and a guy came up to me near the end of camp. He said, "Hey, find me after the camp. We're gonna bring you to Coach Saban's office." I was like, "Cool." So after the camp, I was talking to Coach Saban. He was like, "Man, you have a really strong arm. You were really accurate today. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna watch some of your season film, and I'm gonna get back to you because for us, we just take our time in recruiting quarterbacks because whenever we offer, it's committable." So I was like, "All right, cool." Obviously, it was really intimidating to talk to Coach Saban in person, but it was also like one-time experience. Um, so I go through my season, and while I was on the call, he's like, "Walker, that I kept my word. That's exactly what I did. I watched your season tapes and cut ups before the Mississippi State game. Really liked what I saw. And I just want to let you know that you have an opportunity to play at Alabama and that you have a scholarship here at Alabama, and we really want you." And for me, I was like, "Coach, this is like awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me this because I know like how much this offer like really means, obviously, because you're a really good coach and the program is just has a lot of great history." And his response to that was like, "Walker, we didn't just give it to you, you earned it." And so like hearing him say that to me just kind of meant a lot and gave me like a lot of reassurance. But it was still like really cool, just being able to talk to him and hear one of the, if not the best coach in college football to compliment me like he did. And so that is how that went.
Dude, that's pretty exciting stuff. So I don't know how dialed in you are with like the recruiting landscape in general. Do you like when you talk to him, does he tell you anything about like how many quarterbacks they plan on taking? And I don't know if you heard, I think it was today that Julian Sain is another quarterback that's he's committing tomorrow and he's considering Alabama. I think it's Alabama and LSU. Is that something you're thinking about at all?
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw that he's committing tomorrow. Um, I think he's committing to Alabama, but my dad was explaining it to me like this: like everything in this business, this college business, happens so fast, and so whenever Julian Sayin announced that he will be committing in 3 days or 4 days, I can't remember, like 2 days or a day after I was offered. I mean, he called either Alabama, Georgia, or LSU, and he was like, "Hey, if I committed, what like will you accept it?" And one of them said yes, and so obviously I really like both Alabama and LSU. I'm going to LSU this weekend to watch Alabama play, and so honestly, I know Julian Sain's a good quarterback, and if it I think it's Alabama. So if that ends up being the case, I know most schools only take one quarterback in their class, and I know that if it ends up being Alabama, they're going to stop recruiting quarterbacks. But I will get in touch with Coach Mortensen, which is the assistant quarterback coach, and text Coach O'Brien and be like, "Hey, thank you for everything you've given me. Obviously, I know that y'all usually take one quarterback, so I mean, I'll just have to communicate that with them. But I mean, yeah, I do know he's committing tomorrow, and most likely that will mean that it'll kind of cut it off for every other quarterback that they've offered."
Well, I guess maybe, but also in 2020, I mean, this current class, they've got two guys committed, and so far, I haven't heard that either one is going to, decommit. I know that Eli Holstein um, is there, and then also Dylan Lonergan. But I know Lonergan kind of wants to play baseball, so I don't know if that's like a little. I don't know if he's going to do a little of both or what. But they did take two this year, and so that brings up the general question of, are you looking at a depth chart I don't think you're the kind of guy like the story you just told about the summer camp. I mean, you're not the kind of guy who's going to be like, oh, I don't want to compete. I feel like I know you a little bit now through this process. Like you're a competitor. You're not going to back down from anything. So, you go to a room and it's going to be loaded. No matter where you go, it's going to have good players. So is that something you're just like, I don't care. I want to pick my school and I will win the starting job wherever I go.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like competition is a really, really good thing for the human body and the human brain, especially for quarterbacks because there's only one on the field. I feel like it's a little bit different with other positions like receivers, O linemen, because there's 4 of that position. So for me, looking at the depth chart and how it's lined up for the next couple years is something I definitely pay attention to. Not because I don't want to compete, but because my ultimate goal is to be in the NFL. And through that I need experience. And I don't want to be that guy that like, oh, we're going to have the junior start because he knows the offense better. And then next year we have the sophomore and then you're going to compete and maybe you'll get the job. Maybe you're not. No, I need to know that I'm going to play because I want to be in the NFL. And I know that experience is like, you can't put a price on that. And so for me, that's what I want. And that's why certain schools are really, really attractive to me because I know I could be going in there playing my first or second year, depending on how hard I work and how well I inherit the system. But that's definitely something I look at.
Yeah, and all those other positions you mentioned too. I mean, they rotate even if there's more than one on the field. They also rotate, whereas quarterbacks don't. So
Yeah.
It's a unique spot for sure. And we've talked all along too about kind of headlining a recruiting class. You commit, you bring other people with you, and that whole thing too. So, I understand you kind of wanting to be that as well, like the guy who's going to lead a class, into the next level.
Mm-hmm.
David, anything else about like that experience? I mean, thank you also, by the way, Walker, for like walking us through the whole call. Did you go to Outback after to celebrate? Was that when Outback came in?
No, but my uncle texted me. He texted in our family group chat. He said it must have been that Outback we had a couple nights ago. I was like, that's right. That's right.
Gotta have that fun.
Yeah, I was just curious, like now that you have this big Bama offer, have you heard from a bunch of teams that you haven't heard from already, or is like anyone else kind of like taking attention here?
I mean, most of the time, like that offer will open up the floodgates for other schools. There have been other schools that have been contact me and be like, hey, like, how are you doing, Walker? And I'll be like, y'all just come.
Oh, now you want to talk to me.
Yeah. But no, but I mean, I feel like I don't want to like make this sound weird, but I just feel like it puts me on a bigger like platform, if that makes sense. Like it makes, because of how like great of a program Alabama is, I just feel like it makes me like obviously a bigger recruit, but like if I choose somewhere over Alabama, it just means that like I really like that school. I feel like it just kind of puts a bigger price on the school I go to.
Yeah, I mean, us recruiting dorks who are following along, like we're like, we do. We're like, hey, he had a so-and-so player had a Bama offer and he picked this other school. Like that matters.
Yeah.
We're like having that in your back pocket definitely says something for sure.
Well, yeah. Well, when you have that opportunity, it's hard to pass up. That's why you just like it. Whenever I graduate, whenever I commit, like I have to know that this is the school that I want to be at.
Yeah. Well, moving on towards the here and now, not necessarily the future. So a little bit of the future, but you've got one more big game. I was looking at, I don't know the teams very well, but I know Greenwood's like really good record, 6-1, 9-1, something like that. They're next on the schedule, right? You got them this week.
Yes, sir. So they are 7-0 in conference, 8-1 in all. So they lost to some Oklahoma team at the beginning of the year, but for, like, in a non-conference game. But they are a really big team. They just beat Pulaski Academy, our rivals, this past week. PA could have won. but I mean they're just well executing team. I just feel like if the offense that we have, if we just do our job, we will put up points. And I know that our defense is the number one defense in the state, like no doubt about it. I go up against them every day. I see other defenses every week. Our defense by far is the best defense in the state, and I know that they can hold Greenwood to fewer amount of points that we can score. So I know we can win this game. We just have to do our job.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
I was looking at your schedule. It looks like the playoff is already you've already made the playoffs.
Yes, sir.
So round one's already scheduled. Looks like it's going to be Catholic. So no easy outs from here on because they're like 9-0 as well or something like that.
Maybe. Well, I think we have El Dorado. I don't know who has Catholic.
Oh, maybe Max Prep screwed up again.
Yeah, Max Prep is not trustworthy. But
you heard it here
have
first,
El Dorado. El Dorado is 5-5. They're a solid team. They won the state championship in 6A last year, but they just lost a lot of seniors. And so they're a solid team, but they're young and inexperienced. So going into that game, like we know obviously it's first round of playoffs, we can't let up, but we are confident.
So does that mean the Greenwood's a bit of a letdown spot, or are you guys still gunning hard for Greenwood? You want that one?
What do you mean by that?
I just mean like if you know you're already in the playoffs, does Greenwood are you going into that game? What's your mindset if you know, hey, it doesn't matter for playoff seeding and stuff?
No, this is personal. This is personal.
That.
We're not letting up for anything.
Love it. That's great. I love that mentality, man.
Yes, sir.
Do you know some of the guys on that team? Like I'm looking at this Hunter Houston guy. He's having a pretty good year. Have you played with any of these guys?
Yeah, so I've never met Hunter Houston. I know Kane Archer is the backup quarterback for them. Kane Archer is a 2026, and he's the number one ranked quarterback for that class. Hunter got hurt something. I can't remember. I think it was with his upper body last game and against Pulaski Academy, and Kane Archer came in and finished the game. So they're both solid quarterbacks. I feel like that's not more of why it's personal. I feel like this state, media-wise and school-wise, have no respect for us. After Greenwood beat PA, all the guys on Pulaski Academy were like, good game, y'all. We'll see you on the state championship. I'm like, what are you talking about? No.
You got to get through Walker White, folks.
That's not. I said to myself, like, that's not going to be the situation. Like, I mean, it's just there's just so many people that just overlook us and like I feel like not take us seriously. So I mean, we just still have so much to prove by the end of the season.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. I love it. I love that mentality. You got that dog in you, and I hope that I just hope you just like smash over some people on a couple like designed runs and just like, put them in their place.
That's right. Yes, sir. Yeah. So we're excited.
Awesome. Well, we will be definitely keeping track of that. Good luck against Greenwood and El Dorado and whoever else you meet along the way. And hopefully we'll touch base after the season. I don't want to bother you. Prep, get through the playoffs, and then we'll touch base again and see how things are going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Walker. Have a good night, man.
Yes, sir. See you, Mr. David.
See you, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. See y'all.
What a guy. I like that. He got a little fiery there at the end.
They're trying to look past him. I hate it. They're disrespecting him.
I know. Yeah. Do not look past Little Rock Christian. I tell you, they got a chip on their shoulder after last year. So that's awesome. All right. Well, we did this show I guess it was last week. We did that kind of big recruiting unveil. We talked a lot about our rankings and guys that we like. If you haven't caught that and you're watching this, we have it on YouTube. It's also part of the podcast feed. Kind of an hour and a half, I think we just like went crazy talking about recruiting and our rankings and stuff. talking about the site, but I wanted to show everyone watching the actual upgrades. If you rankings here, you go down and we've got recruiting rankings is now a new feature. All of the rest of our rankings are here. And of course, what you're going to get is the 2023 class ranked by our adjusted grade, our average grade. David, do you remember what goes into those exactly? I know average is easy, but what's the adjusted?
I think they adjusted it just for like Matt did it based on like positional value pretty much. So like QB gets bumped up, like no one gives a shit about tight end, so we bumped them down. I can't remember what running back and wide receiver is, but I think they might just stay the same. I don't know.
Yeah, so it's the positional bump. Yeah, that's what I remember. So yeah, QB tight ends, of course, are going to get crushed by that rating. But then you have the average grade, which is our number grade for these players. And you can actually select per individual person. If you trust one person over the rest, go see what David's got versus what Matt, big wide receiver guy, or me, Austin, or the other Matt. So you can go in there and check out the 2023 class. I think we have about 100. Looks like we got 200 rated. Now, I believe Matt Power, big wide receiver guy, has the most grades on a player. So not everybody has rated everybody with an actual grade. As you can see here, Austin does not have a Malachi Nelson grade, but rest assured, he loves Malachi Nelson. I know that much, so it would be very high. Then we have the tool, which we've talked about now on 2 different shows, but I wanted to show everybody specifically. So it would be the athletic comparison tool here under our tools section. And if you're listening to this on podcast, the YouTube show, I'm showing you exactly how to use it, what to use. So David, give me a player here to put into the recruit to the comparison tool.
Let's go with Jonte Cook.
So we can just type in Jonte Cook. It'll come up, and it's going to give us some athletic measurements that he has, and then what he ranks up against the comparison in our big database. So as an athlete, not the greatest score in the world, speed score. These are based on testing numbers. His burst, 0.92, that's huge. And then power. So he ranks up against, you've got your Diami Brown, stud college producer, not necessarily in the pros so much, Brandon Lloyd, Trey Nixon. So these names aren't, mind-blowing for Jonte Cook, but he's a very fast player. We know that, and we'll see how he develops overall. But some of these guys are kind of that fast, deep threat. Give me another one.
Let's go with Noah Rogers.
I was hoping you'd pick him.
Yeah, I actually haven't looked myself, so now I'm curious.
This is one of the most polarizing prospects. So we actually don't have that many good numbers here.
Okay.
Speed score is not that great, and his overall athleticism, his testing numbers don't seem that great. Interestingly enough, there's some decent, guys who weren't the greatest athletes that are really good producers. Javar Gaffney was excellent for Florida back in the day. Jalen Cropper, we know he's produced at Fresno State. Jeremiah Hunter's having a really nice season. We even have current prospects in here. So Andy Jean is a current prospect at, committed to the University of Florida. So this is how you read this. You've got this really nice coming from Jarek here. He puts the table in. And then I'll pick a guy with some really awesome. I know Cedric Baxter has some really good comps just for funsies. Well, he just has speed. So, it's really important to look at what metrics are we able to compare, because now we only really have speed for Baxter. I guess he doesn't have a lot of testing numbers.
Yeah, Cameron Selden has some pretty big ones. He's one of, I think he was number 1 on our freak list. So
yeah, that's always a good one to look
at. It's just about coming across like enough data points that we can actually fill this thing out.
Okay, athlete 98, speed 99, burst doesn't come out as much, but power 89. We both like Amarian Peterson. I know that, David.
Yeah.
You got Herschel Walker, not bad. Nicholas Singleton, not bad. Matt Forte, all-pro running back in the NFL level. Latavius Murray had 2,000 yards in college and still playing in the NFL. So yeah, these are some pretty sick comps for Cameron Saldon. The caveat is, I guess we don't really know if he's a running back or a receiver yet, but yeah, these are pretty impressive. So anyway, you can just have so much fun in there going in and looking up all those players, and that's the comparison tool. So those are the first two things on our recruiting, the kind of the recruiting section of the website. And we're going to be adding more as we keep going. So those are available on the scholarship level. If you're not a member, you can become a member for $4.99 a month for that scholarship level. And, you get all access to that, of course, our Discord. And we're just going to keep pumping out new ways to think about recruiting, new ways to think about how to look at these recruits. I mean, David, we already had some pretty big, lower rated hits from last year, digging deep into the lists and saying, hey, these guys don't make sense why they're so low. I mean, Quinshon Judkins was tier 2 for us, I think. And he was buried on most of the main sites. And now look at him. So, we like to think we're doing a good job. And I thank you for your hard work. I know Matt also is working hard all the time. And I'm so proud. I'm so proud of this whole recruiting section, department, the things that we've been able to do so far. And so thank you for that.
Yeah. And I'll just say we're continuously working on our rankings. I think you and I are still kind of getting into senior tape. We're still collecting a ton of information on these guys, trying to understand the story of the player. So there's a lot of details in evaluating a player. And the part that I can't wait for is postseason all-star stuff. I love the one-on-ones with wide receivers and DBs. I love seeing how they stack up against the best players in the country. So there's there's still some steps along the season where we got to kind of iron out our rankings. There's still guys we haven't looked at completely. So I think our rankings will get better and better, and we'll feel more confident in them pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, great point. Those weeks leading up to the All-Star games are always very fun. You've got all those, drills and things, and you can really see guys up close. So that will be exciting. And then we're going to get into that Elite 11 circuit again. We're going to see guys like Walker White. We're going to see these other 2024s start to blossom as they head into their senior season. And those commitments are going to start rolling in. Like we said, with Sayin committing tomorrow, 2024, the top quarterbacks are already committed. I mean, 3 of the top 5 are going to be committed. And I guarantee you by December even, we might have, 5 to 6 to 7 of the top 10. I mean, that's the dominoes start falling pretty quickly here. And we're going to have to turn the page almost to 2024 before we know it. So, but yeah, like you said, we're always refining. I looked at a guy the other day who I had heard other people talking about, but I hadn't actually looked at. And I'm like, boom, yeah, I see what the hype is about. And so, adding guys in. So keep checking those as we add in our grades. That they update pretty much every night. So if anyone adds a new player, it's going to show up with a new grade. And we also, I do want to say this. If you've stayed here to the end of this show, thank you. But we really want to make this interactive for you, everyone who's watching this, everyone who's participating. So that comparison tool and some of the other things we're going to have coming out, use it to do a little bit of your own. We want to put the power in your hands, make your own lists and things like that. Whereas we're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting, of course, but want to also give you tools and things so you can do your own stuff and come up with the guys that you really like, because it is subjective. We try to do our best and we learn from each other. But at the end of the day, if you see something you love, you should really prioritize a player and, plant your flag just like you do for rookies in the NFL. That's what we want to make this as accessible as rookie research, for everyone in Dynasty. That's what part of our goal is. So, all right, David, thanks, man. It was a blast. We had a good time. We heard from Walker White going to Outback. I feel like I want a steak right now myself. So, yeah, all right. We'll see you later. Thanks, David.
All right, thank you.
All right. This has been, let me see if I got to finish. This has been The Efficient.